Hi and welcome to Sounds Heavenly. My name's Steve and I make the cables that connect Bang & Olufsen. So today, in true Sesame Street style, this episode is brought to you in association with the letters B and O and the number 1000. So first of all, before we start the video, this is a huge thank you to the 1000 people who've already subscribed to my channel. I never thought it would come this far, so again, thank you very much. If you've not yet subscribed, please click on the little logo at the bottom of the screen and join in, because if you're interested in Bang & Olufsen products, past, present and future, this is the place to find out everything you need. So today, in honour of those 1000 crazy people, we're covering the Beolink 1000. Probably the world's first bulletproof remote control, I suspect, but actually quite a bargain and something that's really useful for modern B&O systems. So to say thank you to all those people, we'll give you a few hints and tips. We're going to run through some information you may or may not know about this, but also some helpful advice to choose and to use this remote to its best. Now, it was launched in 1988, ran through until 1996 with many variations. Initially there was the almost identical audio terminal and video terminal, followed by an AV terminal. Then the first Beolink 1000 came out and actually carried Beolink 1000 as a designation at the bottom. Don't worry about all these variations. I would suggest there is just one thing you need to look for if you're going to buy one of these to use now, and that is that it should have a menu button. Now, earlier versions don't have this, and you can get around it. You can still press a combination of buttons to give you the menu function, but it slightly complicates things. So I'm going to show a cheat sheet basically that lets you work around the lack of up-to-date buttons on the early remotes. But if you are looking to buy one of these, if you look out for that menu button, that makes it nice and easy to use this with modern B&O products. So this, I think, is a Mark III or Mark IV version. It also has a light button as well, which again is very handy if you have Bang & Olufsen compatible lighting in your house. If not, don't worry about that button. Now in 2019, going into 2020, this is still a usable remote control. The Essence Mark II recently discontinued, and the currently produced Beosound Core can both work via infrared remote with the addition of a little eye. And you might not know, but the phono button on here that was meant originally for a turntable, when you send the signal from that to a Beosound Core, it will interpret it as being internet radio or N.dot radio. And you can also get net music as well, one of the other commands that the new systems accept, with a combination of buttons. Again, we'll show the cheat sheet, and it basically keeps this very cheap and cheerful remote control, available often for as little as £20 on eBay, into something that's still up to date and usable. So let's go through a few tips and tricks to help you get the best from this. Now, first of all, if your remote isn't working, or if you want to find out if it's working, all you need is a camera phone. What I'd suggest is use the forward-facing camera, because the main camera on most phones now has an infrared filter. So it won't work for this test, but the forward facing camera that you'd use for selfies is the one to use. Point the remote at the screen and press a button, and you should see a little flash of purple light, which I'm hoping shows through on the camera here and indicates that the two little remote senders are working in the remote. Now, if you don't get those little flashes of light, the next tip is, I won't say change the batteries, that's maybe a little too obvious, but what I would suggest is just roll the batteries with your finger, and as you might see here, this centre battery is very, very loose. This is a characteristic problem with these remotes as they get older. The terminals start to corrode and the little ears that bend out to touch the batteries don't push with enough pressure. So just bending those gently back into place with a small screwdriver to give a bit of tension to hold against the battery is generally all that's needed to get them working again. The next tip is one of my favourites. This has actually come from my shower room at home, and the clear grip seal bag is one that I send out with cables that are produced from my store, and the remote control will actually work within this bag. I don't guarantee that these bags are 100% waterproof for immersion, but they're actually very useful if you want to put the item in a splash-proof area. So this is used quite regularly for music, in the shower or in the bathtub, and it's stood up to many years of use in a wet environment without any problems. And whilst the newer BO4 remote that replaced this is quite undeniably more stylish, maybe it's not the item that you'd want to risk out in a garden or in a bathroom or somewhere where it's likely to encounter moisture or damage. So moving on from there, what we'll look at is how to do something that Bang & Olufsen didn't really envisage. Now you can use either of these remotes to operate a pair of Beolab 5 speakers without a B&O system. That's fine, that's all covered within the instructions. Again, this is where the menu button becomes useful, which again is shown on the newer BO4. But also you can use Beolab 3500 without a B&O product connected. I'll put links to the cables that make this possible. That menu button is what you need. So again, from that cheat sheet, if you've got an earlier Beolink 1000 without the menu button, you can get around that, but it's so much easier if you've got the later Mark 3 or Mark 4 version with that menu button. So I hope that that's been helpful. Going forwards, every time we reach another milestone on the channel, then I'll try and do a similar review for a product that's got that same model number, and hopefully give you a little bit of advice on extra ways to use it that you might not have thought of. So if you've got any ideas for products you'd like me to cover in future videos, please let me know. As I mentioned at the start, please subscribe if you haven't already done so. It will bring the next milestone review on that much sooner. And also, please, if you've got any questions about connecting your B&O products, please click on the link in the video description, go to my store at soundsheavenly.com. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you for watching.